That steel bar locks me to the slider so that when I rock my body, the entire slider moves back and forward with me. So I'm cutting the tenons for the top and bottom rails of the side panels. Now these tenons, they have a stepped shoulder, and that's so that the front longer shoulder slips down into a groove. So with these tenons cut, I've just realised that I've made a mistake here. So on the bottom of this leg here, I've run the groove to that point there, equal to that tenon. But this rail is going to sit 6mm below that. And I didn't want that groove to pop out below it, because then you might be able to see it in the finished piece. So what I can actually do is I can cut that little section off now and have it sit there. If I use this one as the example, it can sit over there like that, but I can get rid of that there on the saw. So all I need to do is set my fence up to take that shoulder again. As I was making this modification, I found that I had forgotten to cut one of the cheeks of one of these tenons. And I really hate this bit of footage. I really hate it. Yep, right about now I'm thinking, bugger. So what I was supposed to do is that these shoulders were supposed to be offset, because one of these shoulders gets hidden in behind this groove here. But when I was fixing this one and I wanted to just cut down through here, and I've had forgotten to cut the top of it, I've just flipped it over and cut the whole thing off. So now when this goes in here, that stepped shoulder, which is supposed to sit inside that groove there, will just sit flush. So if I get a smaller one that actually fits into the thing, what will now happen is, come on, fit, damn it. There we go. So what happens is that this face here will be directly in line with the front edge of that groove. So if I had have had that stepped shoulder there, that stepped shoulder would have sat inside the groove, and it would create a nice neat joint. Now I'm going to possibly have something that, if I get it to sit in front of the groove like that, you won't see it. But if I'm exactly equal to it, you end up with the slightest gap. It's an internal corner with, or a hollow internal corner, and so you can see a slightest of gap through there. It's basically a knife line through there. So what I could do is I could fix this component, remake it, which means locating these mortises in the same position, making those mortises slightly smaller so that the matching tenons can be made slightly smaller again, so it's nice and tight, because there's no way that I'm going to be able to make a mortise exactly that width again. So I could do that, and then I could redo these tenons and do the whole lot. Seems like a lot of work. What I can do on this leg only, I can get a piece of timber and fill in this little section there, so that when this comes down over the top, even if this is set back too far, you'll be able to see the little filler piece. But you're talking like 0.2 of a millimeter at best, so you're not going to really notice it unless you've seen this video and then you get down with a microscope and you have a look at it and say, hey, Kuffy stuffed that up. So on the top of the bottom side rail, I need to just remove this little section here, and the same on the top and bottom of the top side rail here and here. So I'll just quickly get rid of that with chisels. With a nice sharp chisel in blackwood, I don't need to use a hammer, I can just use body weight, a little bit of muscle. Mostly it's just KFC power, with a little bit of chocolate thrown in. None of this is overly critical, the whole thing gets hidden, so, and none of it's structural, so it can be pretty rough. On the end of the tenon there, chamfer the top, find myself a hole. Is this the correct hole? It is. So that goes into here. And that's a little bit too tight. So I get myself a bigger chisel, take a shaving off there, a little bit more through to the front. That should do that. Try it again. And it doesn't go together. Now the reason why it's not going together is because this tongue, or this face here, needs to be planed down just that little bit so that the front edge doesn't butt into the front edge of that groove. That's what's stopping it from going together. Now isn't that just an interesting tenon? I find it interesting. So that's the side panel there, with the stepped mortise and tenon on the top and bottom rails. Now I need to remove all of this material here to create the tongue along here, so that when I put this into the leg like that, this thing just slips straight down into that groove there, creating a near perfect joint regardless of any disparity between this end and that edge there. That's one of the things that I've avoided. I can hear yous all now screaming at your TV saying, "Kuffy, use a bloody push stick for crying out loud." Alright, these front stiles are getting a little bit too thin that not even I will risk my own fingers. You gotta be safe, or you're gonna be sorry. Now I can get these two front face frames glued up and in the clamps, and that'll call it quits for the day. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back with more tomorrow. That'll have to do it.